speaker. Manny Guzman was named President of Chemical Abstracts Service, or CAS, in September of 2013. CAS, a division of the American Chemical Society, is the world's authority for chemical information and related solutions. CAS is a global organization, developing research solutions that scientists, patent professionals, and other decision makers around the world rely on to enable discovery and facilitate workflows. Prior to joining CAS, Manny was Executive Vice President of Learning and Research Solutions and International Operations at Cengage Learning, which is a leading provider of teaching, learning, and research solutions for the academic, professional, and library markets worldwide. Prior to Cengage, Manny was part of the Thomson Corporation, where he served as President and Chief Financial Officer of Thomson Learning's Career and Professional Group. He also was co-founder and CEO of Monument Information Resource, MIR Management Corporation, a market intelligence source for the higher education textbook publishing industry. Today, Manny will present a brief overview of CAS and its evolving transformation as it drives scientific discoveries around the world. Please join me in giving Manny a warm Rotary welcome.
Thank you, Kathy. Hello, everybody. It's a great opportunity to meet with you folks today. What I'm going to do is give you a little bit of a background on CES and our purpose, and then move quickly into our strategy and what we're trying to achieve going forward. It has evolved over the last few years. So a little bit of background, as Kathy mentioned, we are part of the American Chemical Society. A little bit unusual for a division or a business our size to be part of a nonprofit. The ACS obviously has been around for more than 100 years here. Our membership is global. We aspire to have more members as part of that. And fundamentally, what we do is try to achieve the following mission. It's improve people's lives through the transformative power of chemistry. So the folks in Columbus, as part of the CS operation, proactively work to generate the resources that go over to the American Chemical Society to do good things around the world. So what does CS do specifically? Well, it actually dates back to 1907, where a group of scientists got together and thought it would be actually a very beneficial thing to the world to the extent scientific information specific around chemistry was consolidated or brought together in such a way that it could then be disseminated or communicated more broadly and more globally. So that idea, that concept picked up traction, and then early on, it fundamentally took the form of let's say, articles or journal articles being written or white papers being written, and then scientists getting together to extract key elements of that information and putting it in an abstract format that could be easily distributed. The organization began to grow and was first established initially at the University of Illinois, but ultimately moved over to Ohio State back in 1909. So we've been in Columbus for a very, very long time. At that point, it was just one or two individuals, an executive editor, who was governing this global initiative. And from there, it really took off. Remained on the Ohio State campus for over 50 years. The organization morphed from being a nice thing to do to ultimately becoming a commercial enterprise where this consolidated information that was in a print-based format was sold around the world to research institutes, academic institutes, as well as in the commercial sector as well. The facilities you see here were constructed starting, obviously, in the 60s, and we now have 3 facilities located off of Olentangy, roughly 55 acres there with these 3 buildings. The center building there, with first one in, was basically our core operation or headquarters. The building constructed in 1973 was to accommodate the expansion specifically on the technology side and on the science side as we began to grow our operation. And then most recently in 2011, a separate and unique data center was built adjacent to the 2 buildings there, which houses most of our delivery platforms. What's unique about our operation is 100% of our business model is now digital, but 100% of it is actually serviced from Columbus from that facility. About 65–70% of our business is outside of North America, so we are truly a global operation. So what do we do? I'll try to over-summarize this. So I mentioned in the early days, right, we would go out, take scientific information that was cultivated, extract that information, consolidate it, and deliver it in a print-based format. Started with 1 or 2, thin-sized journals, if you would, ultimately, prior to the conversion to digital, you would talk about volumes of information that we pre-produced in a print-based format, bound and sent around the world. In our operation, we have currently about 400 to 500 chemists who work on-site curating that information, along with another few hundred technologists. And in total, we're upwards around 1,500 folks, whether employees or contractors, that support this business. About 30 years ago, so the business started to convert. So with the entree of technology, all of us publishers started to try to understand better ways to leverage that technology and deliver our information. Thus, CAS went down that path, and what was formerly a print business quickly merged into a mainframe type of business where we were delivering our information in an electronic format to our customers through proprietary networks and communications. Today, it's completely internet-based, where all of our information is aggregated and disseminated through primary product models like Sci-Fi or SDN that cater to scientists in a particular lab, that may cater to an IP professional or lawyer within the confines of a chemical company or corporation as well. Okay, so who are our customers? These are some examples of our commercial customer types. You can see we deal with the Johnson & Johnsons, the P&Gs, the 3M. So pretty much all the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world are customers of CAS, as well as large chemical companies. We are heavily positioned as well in the academic community. So any research institute or academic institution interested in chemistry or science specifically will be a subscriber to our products. So let me articulate a little bit the importance Sci-Fi brings, or I should say CS brings to the world of chemistry. Pretty much everyone in this room, I'm assuming, has a Social Security number, right? So in the world of chemistry, CS actually created the Social Security number for chemistry, referred to it as our registry number. So any chemical compound or substance that pretty much exists in the world is actually registered in this facility here in Columbus. Around the world, when folks are talking chemistry or speaking science, they will actually use the indexes and authority keys that are uniquely created here. So this is a very important organization in the world of science. I'm not quite sure folks truly appreciate that, because it's somewhat of a secret to some extent within Columbus, but it is an important entity here. I actually have a couple of my colleagues with me today. Dr. Matthew Toussaint heads up our product and content operations. He's been with the organization for over 30 years. He fundamentally is the mind behind our content databases, our authority keys, and the impact we've had in the world of science. With him is Dr. Michael Dennis. He runs our innovation group, our product management office, as well as our legal operation, uniquely skilled. He is a PhD in chemistry as well as an attorney, unique combination. I don't know if we want to gong that, but we allow that to stick put. So where are we headed, right? And I talked a little bit earlier about our transformation. So we were fundamentally a publishing company for 80 years, accumulating information, putting it in a print-based format, disseminating in volumes around the world. The last 30 years or so, we have to move towards digital dissemination, and it helps in a lot of ways. It enables our folks to engage in information more readily. It allows us to proliferate it around the world in an unrestricted way that is limited by print-based formats. We also use technology to curate our information. We just don't bring it in-house. Once we bring it in-house, we process it. So similar to a manufacturing plant, when we bring that content in, we have scientists who have to navigate around it to increase its value. So that's our value proposition. Going forward, there's a dynamic happening in the world of information, and some of you may or may not be familiar with it, but if you just deliver content only, you run the risk of being commoditized. So whether it's a publisher, an information company like ours, whether you're Thomson, or Reed Elsevier, or Bloomberg, you're faced with this dynamic. The majority of the value you drive today through your solutions is through content, aggregating content and selling that content. In a future state, that's actually going to shift a little bit. So I'm sure you've all heard about Watson and big data and analytics and decision support. That's our world. If we continue to deliver just encyclopedias, there's a good chance that our encyclopedias could be marginalized out, diminish in value, and ultimately go away. So we have to look for ways to increase value beyond just delivery of content. And fundamentally, that's what underpins our strategy. So I can't let any of you leave this room with this piece of competitive information, but I'll deliver it anyway. This fundamentally is indicative of our strategy. The y-axis there is kind of a representation of our escalating sophistication of solutions that we're pursuing. So in the lower left-hand corner there, in a prior world, what we delivered was print-based solutions, aggregated a bunch of content, printed that content out, and delivered it to our customers. In the last 25, 30 years or so, we've wrapped a layer of technology around it to enable it to be disseminated. So take all that content, we have highly sophisticated search engines and technology that sit on top of it. So when a researcher comes into our environment and they want to know information about a particular chemical reaction or compound, they can go through our very complicated algorithms technology to get to that piece of content. We've been doing that very successful for 25, 30 years. Quite frankly, we are a monopoly. We have 90+% market share. Nobody else can do what we do, content and technology put together. In a future state, though, we got to be thinking about high-end decision support and analytics. So if I deliver you a content solution and I enable you to navigate your way through it to find the information you want, that's valuable. But if I can then steer you down a path of actually making an informed decision, or maybe making recommendations to you as to what your decision should be, or maybe predicting the future by correlating a lot of that historical information and behavioral information in such a way that it allows you to predict a potential outcome, that's where the real value is. What's happening here over the last 3 years in our organization is we've been retooling, if you would, all our functional areas to support that future state. So in the last 3 years, we've redefined our technology organization, our go-to-market sales functions. We've built in big data capabilities to allow us to support that future state. So what has the outcome been as a result of all of that change and investment? If I start to plot where we were and where we're going, when we started down this path 3 years ago, we had 2 primary products, a product called SciFinder and STN, about 25, 30 years old, each one of them, and a small consultancy business called Science IP. In the last 20 months, we've introduced the first 6 new products that CS has had in about 20+ years. In the next 12 months, these 5 new initiatives will emerge, and as you can see, they start to move up that spectrum of sophistication, ensuring our future success, helping us evolve our organization in such a way that we can remain competitive and obviously remain present here at the same or a greater scale in the city of Columbus. So pivoting here, what does that mean for the city? What does it mean for you? This organization has a long, long history of being very, very supportive in the community. We want to continue that. Some of these events that predate my tenure here, Picnic with the Pops and Pelotonia, all originated on that campus at CAS. Once they got scale, they were actually taken out, maybe stolen away is a better way to phrase it, taken away and taken to other parts of the city. You know, we aspire to create the next Pelotonia. We aspire to create the next Picnic with the Pops. So we're actively looking for ways for the community to leverage our assets, leverage our property, leverage our real estate, leverage our people to support broader community initiatives. Beyond that, and a little bit more selfishly on the business side, to the extent this and interactions with your folks becomes a vehicle for telling our story, for us to recruit talent, that's the value add directly that the society and CS could get. We are always in search of folks that join our organization to help us achieve our goals. We have a set of targets that we've laid out for ourselves personally as leaders here now to become one of the best and most innovative employment destinations in the area. And we're not limiting it to Central Ohio. We have greater aspirations there. We're doing, and we believe we're doing, some of the most progressive things on the technology side, on the data side, and to the extent you have a scientific bent under Matt's leadership, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a more progressive information group that caters to the scientific community the way we do. So with that, I'll end there. Thank you for your time before I get gonged and entertain any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Great presentation.
Appreciate it.
To understand more about this best kept secret from Columbus. With the growth that you discussed in the workflow and analytics, that growth, is it now, and what are the plans as far as that growth coming from within or acquisition?
A great question about our aspirations to have more of a data environment. Do we tend to do that through acquisition or organically through hires? And I would extend it further to say, and what would be the need for local involvement in that? It's going to be a combination of everything. You know, one of the things that we have to stay focused on is we were a publisher, now we're an information solutions provider. We're not a technology company, but we leverage technology. So we're going to have to acquire, and through acquisitions, and CS historically hasn't done a lot of that, but starting basically now, we did one about a month or so ago, and we'll probably do 1 to 2 a year. We'll start to be a little bit more inquisitive and acquire that capability. At the same time, because of the unique nature or the complexity of the information that we facilitate internally, it's kind of hard to go out and find generic big data competencies that are actually going to be able to service our scientific demands that we have internally. So we're going to have to groom that talent internally. We're going to have to take scientists and computer scientists and business folks and help develop their skill sets in a more rounded way that would help us build those companies internally. And as far as in regards to local talent, I would extend it. We are proactively looking to hire within the community to kind of bring some of those skill sets in and partner with not only local private enterprise, but also the academic community here to kind of bring in those talents. And in fact, I spoke to 20 interns last week from Ohio State and some of the surrounding universities who, you know, we're looking to get them when they're young.
Manny, what's your attitude about cybersecurity, and should you, as one of the premier companies in Columbus, be part of the consortium that already exists working on cybersecurity issues? I think there's like 7 companies in Columbus.
Right. So, question about cybersecurity and what is the prioritization from our perspective, and secondly, should we be more proactive in the local Columbus community and partner with them? So we took a step forward in the last year and kind of elevated our investment in that area by hiring a chief strategy officer. Now, it's always been a priority for CS for the last 30 years, and we've done a pretty good job of insulating ourselves from piracy. And more importantly for us, it's less about the stealing of our information. It's the interruption of service that we're most worried about. It is a huge issue for our industry. It's a huge issue for us. It's a very significant issue for the broader American Chemical Society. So top 1, 2, 3 in terms of sensitivity points we have. Our business is fundamentally founded on our ability to protect our information and curate it, protect it. Secondly, involvement in the local community, absolutely. I mean, with the appointment of that position, it's in our best interest to partner with our local organizations here, private as well as public sector, to make sure we're leveraging all the best practices possible to protect our environments.
As a monopoly, what's your pricing structure? Is your organization a not-for-profit organization, and how does that lead the pricing of your products?
We won't use that word monopoly too many times, but we are a nonprofit, so I think I get to. So I mentioned earlier that our business was like 70%, 65% outside North America. Our business is also 70% commercial, 30% academic. We heavily discount in the academic space to the tune of 80%. We are a nonprofit, so fundamentally, we're attempting to provide our solutions to the academic community at basically what we would consider a break even. On the commercial side, it's all value-based pricing. So, and not dissimilar to what any commercial enterprise would do. Thomson Financial, Bloomberg, Pearson, or Reed Elsevier, some of these large-scale information companies. You understand how much value can be extracted from your commercial customer, and then you price it accordingly. So, for example, if Novartis can potentially leverage our information to come up with a billion-dollar drug discovery, we're conscious of that and try to get our portion of that $1 billion.
Right. Nelson.
Do you anticipate, have you ventured beyond the arena of chemistry into other fields, or and if you haven't, do you anticipate doing so?
Great question. Great question. Are we thinking about domains outside chemistry specifically? Absolutely. What underpins, and I didn't mention in there, but it was reflected in some of those dotted lines, is easy way to grow a business, right? Add more products that can sell to existing accounts, or add more products that bring in new customers and new customer types into your business. We are expanding beyond our a myopic focus on chemistry and starting to look at life sciences and other areas, in particular drug discovery. So to the extent we can help on the life sciences side and help a pharma company with the process they go through to research the foundational information necessary to invest in drugs, we'll do that as well. Life science is our next target area.
I'd like to go back to the idea of security, and do you not have issues that you're worried about that information that you have ends up in the wrong hands, in the wrong places?
Yep.
And how do you protect against all of that?
So he asked me, he wants to revisit my answer on the security side. Why am I not hyperly sensitive about losing information? What's the risk? And let me give you an example. So if we were a database business, let's say, if we were a business that you could take the entire corpus of the information and basically derive value from it just by getting a copy of the file, I would be very, very nervous. The nature of our information is it's about relationships and the connectivity of those relationships, where it's very difficult for one person to get an exact replication of our underlying content set and provide value from it. It's virtually impossible to do. So our exposure really is on the use, to go through our technology and the tool and do a search and get a response back that strings together unique information. That really can't be stolen in mass. It only can be stolen in individual transactional ways, and our largest targeted customer segments aren't in the business of kind of circumventing licensing agreements to steal onesies and twosies. So needless to say, our greatest exposure is from one-off individuals stealing increments through our technology interfaces. We don't have a lot of risk of people stealing the entire corpus. Our bigger issue is somebody undermining our environment. So the same way you probably all appreciate going to Google and it's always up, we can't go down, And so if somebody were to come in our environment and actually create a scenario where they would shut us down, that's our biggest risk. Theft, less of an issue.
How many languages do you collect information
Yeah, great.
and provide information?
So, so how many languages do we collect information in? And I appreciate you asking that, because one of the unique things about our environment is we have 50 different languages that are spoken within our walls. And if you walk into our building on any given day and actually go into our cafe, it is the United Nations of business. I mean, it is amazing. You'll have, pockets of folks who are, engaged in social activities amongst themselves, speaking different languages. So our business model is predicated on the diversity of information we collect in its original or native language, and it's all part of our business strategy.
Being who you are you also the repository of various intellectual property protected information that's in a vault somewhere for end of the world or for whatever?
I don't know, I wouldn't say that, although some of our scientists get a little upbeat about how important they think some of that stuff is. But and one of them doesn't happen to be in the building, okay? But we the question was, do we have proprietary information in-house that maybe is kind of isolated in a vault somewhere to protect it? In that regard, no, but we do have relationships with the government, and we do have relationships with our customers where they interact with us and there's data exchanges where we're obligated to insulate that information from being consumed by a broader audience. And that, I think, ties back a little bit to the previous question here. So part of our process is we have intimate relationships with our customer where there is an exchange of IP, and we're obligated to protect that.
Back over there in the back.
I know that years ago you had relationships with Substantial, with Mattel. I assume you still do. And if you do, what are the potentials of that?
Very limited at the moment in terms of, I would say, business or research activity. Matt, I think I'm pretty correct on that. But I think we, as we're looking forward, the opportunities to engage with them more on the data science side seems to be an opportunity. And I think it goes beyond Battelle. There's a group of companies locally that are kind of engaged in a collaborative effort right now that we'll probably be a part of. Scott.
Do you find your location in Columbus helpful in attracting new employees? And if so, what aspects of Columbus do you particularly market to new employees?
So the question was, do we find the Columbus location actually an advantage or disadvantage to recruiting talent, and what are the aspects that we promote as part of that process? Well, I am the ambassador for relocation when it comes to Columbus. I think it is actually it's an absolute advantage, I believe, in this community, and for a number of reasons. One, the cost of living here, the quality of life, the ability to navigate a suburb versus a city, the academic environment here, the innovation that's happening on the commercial side that presents folks an opportunity to the extent they move to this area and then decide to pivot their career. You know, what's happening in larger cities, and I've worked on the coast, and you know, where infrastructure and demands of day-to-day life actually, you know, are pushing people, I think, out of those environments. There's nothing here that we can't sell, and I've been very successful. We have collectively been very successful in being able to recruit to this local community. Now, on top of that, I think there's things happening with, uniquely so, the intersect here between the public and private sector and the way they interact is very unique. I don't know if you folks necessarily realize that or not, but so the ability to kind of reach out and talk to business leaders or and get them engaged in a conversation that could benefit a group of us is very, very easy to do. And then when you put that, you know, 60,000 student, you know, large scale academic institution smack in the middle of it all, you know, it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to attract talent and pretty easy to keep them here. One more before I get going.
This is more on a personal side. My granddaughter, who's only 8, so I mean we're talking a number of years, but she wants to be a scientist. She loves science. So let's assume she was a little older. What's exciting to work? I mean, how would you sell to somebody who really loves science and wants to do exciting things? What can you offer them?
And this is interesting coming from an accountant, but I'll do my best on this. So two things. On the first side, I should mention this. What we do every year in partnership with COSI is actually bring COSI in, and we have a day in which all the members of our staff can bring their grandchildren or children in and then kind of engage with us along with COSI to deliver a great experience. And I think we get like 100 kids or so that participate on a regular basis. And maybe we consider actually extending that out to community. Now that I think about it, Michael, we'll take that down. I think for me, it's pretty, here's an option. You know, when a lot of the folks who work with us have a tremendous academic background, and they've chosen to go into the world of science. But what CS actually presents to them is the ability to engage in science without necessarily having to choose the default career path, which is going into a lab or a lab type of environment. So we have folks who really love the science, and they love reading about the science and engaging in the content within that science. And we present an alternative opportunity, an alternative career choice for somebody who's passionate about science. So for inspiration to your 8-year-old daughter, I would actually turn to that gentleman there to your left. But I think what we do uniquely is actually create alternative career opportunities for people who like the science but don't necessarily want to take the traditional career path.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I will see you all next week. This meeting is adjourned.